even schedule a time, right? All of these things, I'm just gonna transfer into my bot. And if I do that, it makes it so much easier for me to actually try and figure out what should I actually build into the bot. You don't need anything different, right? You just wanna make sure that you are providing it. And the reason is because you can provide it more efficiently and more effectively. All right, I'm gonna take a quick second here. And I think that's fantastic. Mary Kay got some clarity. Devin, great. So let's talk about the next step, which is what to charge, right? Because now you've got, all right, so I understand my functions. I want to get people to join the bot. I want to get them to subscribe. Then what I want to do is I want to get people to interact with it, right, in a variety of different ways. You know, and then I want to have some sort of follow-up system to be able to find, you know, the ideal customers or prospects, right? And so I want to be able to do that, but then I can do that in a variety of different ways, right? I remember for me, one thing that really helped me was creating a just laying out everything that comes into our you know, that comes in our bot. So let me pull up here. I'm going to pull up our slides, and this is actually something that our accelerators get access to. But the reason I'm showing you this is I want to go through and show you everything now that could like possibly be, you know, that could possibly be included in it, right? Because when I had you know, got into these different industries, I realized that not every industry was going to use or was going to need every type of thing, right? Not every industry was going to run Facebook ads, so they need something that they can get people more, you know, organically. Not everybody is going to have a large social media following, so they're going to need some sort of way, you know, to drive traffic, you know, to people. So lots of different things that go into it, right? But in a, you know, overall, here are the things that you can include in your package, right? Here's the things that you can include in your package. You can include opt-in and subscription tools. You can include links to subscribe. You can create easy landing pages with a lot of the platforms. You can create scan codes. You can create follow-up sequences. You can integrate it with you know, websites and a funnel, right? You can integrate them with a CRM and zap their information into other CRMs. You can collect their phone numbers. You can collect their emails. You can actually schedule people. You can transfer data to Google Sheets. We can do tracking and segmenting, right? We can integrate it with databases, and it can even have its own like advanced AI where it kind of understands people. So the reason I bring this up is that there's all these different things that you can include in your services. But when I was getting started, the reality was I was nervous, right? Like I remember when I was brand new to the marketing game, I had already sold millions of dollars worth of physical products in the, you know, in the direct sales and the you know, basically direct sales. I had already sold millions of dollars. I had already trained and recruited and hired hundreds and thousands of people over my time as a business owner, but I was still nervous as hell asking people for money to do their marketing. And the reason why is because I'd only done it for myself. I hadn't really done it for anybody else, so I wasn't sure or confident. I didn't have the results. I didn't have the case study. I didn't have the testimonials to be able to say, look at all of, you know, look at all of this history that I've done. And so it made it really just, I was really nervous, and it made it really difficult for me to get my first client without this method that I'm going to talk about, right? And so I remember hearing and listening to, you know, one of these gurus who talked about this this free kind of trial thing, right? And I was always like, oh, I'm never going to do that, right? Because I want to pay for my, you know, I want people to pay me and whatever, you know, and I had this kind of mindset that if I do free stuff, that I was actually going to be, you know, hindering, you know, that it was actually going to be a negative or a waste of time. But eventually, I had a, you know, this friend came around, and I worked on his chatbot, and we had all the success with his gym, and all of a sudden it worked, and all of a sudden I did it for free because I was his friend and I loved him, and I wanted his gym to do well and I wanted to help him succeed. But all of a sudden, I now had results. I now had testimonials. I now had case studies. I now had this case study of evidence that my work was worth spending money on. And so now what we did is we took those results, we took them to the next business. And we said, hey, look what we did with this person. They didn't know that it was my friend, and they didn't know that we did the work for free. We just showed them, hey, this is the results that we did. Here's how we did it. And what we were able to do is we were able to get that person to pay us a little bit of money. And we got them to pay us a little bit of money, and we built it and we got them results. And then we got the next person to pay us a little bit more because we had even more testimonies. We had even more notoriety. And so our first bot was for free. Then we sold our second bot for like $250. Then we sold our third bot for $500. Then we kept building, or we kept what we call the staircase method. And each time we got a little bit more experience, we got a little bit more results, and our prices went up a little bit more. And so this staircase method started out at $0, right? And frankly, it started out at $0 and included all of this stuff, right? Because we were really testing, what I didn't know is we were testing our services right there. And so the staircase method, what I would encourage you to do is if you're brand new, you don't have clients, right? You can use the staircase method as a way to get started and to make sure that each following project, right, you make a little bit more. And it can even be as much as you charging $50 more each project, right? But the staircase method is a really valuable way to get started. Now, that's not going to be something that's, you know, sustainable, right? Or that's not going to be something that you can maybe necessarily want to do forever, because eventually you're going to want to find a way to justify your prices outside of starting at the bottom, right? And so if you guys are already confident, right, eventually we got to a place where we were selling bots, and now we needed to justify, right, how we could, you know, how it made sense for them to spend over $1,000, $1,500 with us, right? And so as we started to do this, we ended up moving a lot of different industries, right? So you heard me talk a lot about the real estate space, but we realized that the real estate space, even though they could pay us a few $100s for a chatbot, real estate agents, very few of them were able to afford to pay us $1,500, $2,000 every single month for us to be able to do their lead gen and their marketing for them. It's just the nature of the industry, is just the margins aren't as high and the returns are much less consistent than, say, something like the medical spa space. And so we started to look into different niches that could really afford us. And so what we decided, right, is that the medical spa space seemed to be a space where the operations and the procedures were way more expensive, or way more, expensive than your typical kind of, industry. But similar to a lot of industries, they had no idea how to drive, more customers for them. And so the way the 10X method came about, right, in terms of prices, is we would identify what their customer was worth to them, right? So when we were talking to medical spa people, they were, paying, they had treatments that were $500, $600, sometimes even, $700 treatments. And so we would say, Mr. Business Owner, we bring you, let's say to make numbers easy, over the lifetime of a customer, right? If they are, they're worth $1,000, right? Let's say, the treatments are $500 and they come back twice. That was what we found, is that they were actually much higher, but just for numbers' sake, let's say each customer to that medical spa was worth $1,000. Well, what we would, say to them is, Mr. Business Owner, if this month we can bring you 10 customers, right? If we can bring you 10 customers, that's now $10,000 in your pocket, right? That's $10,000 in your, into your business from that work. If we can bring you $10,000, Mr. and Mrs. Business Owner, doesn't it make sense and make it worth it to spend $1,000 to invest into those 10 customers, right? So if I can bring, and the way that we would always say, and I learned this from my mentor, John Logar, is if we could bring you 10 paying customers, would you be willing to give us back one of those paying customers, right? If all you had to do was give us one of your customers and we could give you 10 of them, would that be worth it? And every single business owner is like, yes, of course. And so as you're looking to grow and as you're looking to scale and become, really create something more sustainable, the way that you can position your prices is that if you can bring them, if you can show how your services offer 10x what you're actually asking, it becomes a no-brainer. And so what we ended up doing was, frankly, we would use a combination of the staircase and the 10x method. And so we would get them in on a really low offer, where for these med spas, what we would say was, we would say, hey, we're gonna set up our system for you, which included everything that I showed you, right? And all you're gonna have to do is you're gonna pay a few $100s, right? You're gonna pay a few $100s for the ads, and that's all that we're gonna do. And over the week, usually it took us about 10 days or so, but over those 10 days, we're gonna prove to you, we're gonna get you results, so much so that it makes it a no-brainer for you to want to invest into us, long term. And over that week, we would get them results, and ideally our goal would be to get them so much in return over that week that we actually would pay for ourselves, that we would actually pay for ourselves before they had to pay us. And so it was always a combination of getting them to try something out that's lower commitment, with knowing that we were going to get them results and that there was going to be some sort of higher end offer on the other side. And the reason is that so many more businesses are much more likely to give you more money if they've already given you money. And so many more businesses are much more likely to give you a smaller amount of money before they give you a larger amount of money. So if you can provide something at a lower cost or a lower rate, charge them that, deliver and provide, it makes it so much easier to upsell them to your complete package. So what that means is that, if you don't want to give them everything, right? Well, what you can actually do is you can actually splinter off and say, for a few $100s, you'll get this, this, and this. And then if you want the full thing, that's our complete package. So there's two methods there when it comes to pricing. You can start off with the staircase, and eventually I like to work to the 10x method as well. Tony says it's a great checklist. How do you get a copy? That is one of the bonuses for our accelerator program. So if you are a member of our accelerator program, you get that along with a bunch of other bonuses as well.